Welcome to Visual Traffic Recorded Online Training, Report Center Lesson 2. In this lesson, we'll cover understanding log avail setup for inventory reports, understanding log events for inventory reports, editing log templates for inventory reports, automatic and manual availabilities calculation, and the various inventory reports. Understanding log avail setup for inventory reports. In Visual Traffic, inventory reports are going to be looking at your avail codes on the log, the number of units in the avail set, and the commercial length of the avail set. So you must remember that when viewing the inventory available by daypart, the daypart must be created as an event that's a part of your log, and that the log template with those dayparts have been dropped onto the log calendar. The first step is to make sure that your log avail codes are set up correctly. You'll go to Logs, Log Avail Codes, and as you look at each of these avail codes, notice that if you click Edit, they all have avail code flags: Network Avail, Sponsorship Avail, or Adds to Commercial Time. I'm on the General Avail code, which is where a regular spot will be placed on my log, and that avail does add to commercial time. However, if I were to look at a Falcons avail, it is a sponsorship avail, but it does not add to commercial time. This is a sponsorship, and I do not want regular spots to fall into it, so I don't want that sponsorship included in my commercial time when I'm checking for my inventory. So for your network sponsors, they are network avails, and they do not get included in commercial time either. If you need to know what the flags are for each of your avail codes, go ahead and click Print under Log Avail Setup, and then Preview, and you will get the Log Avail Master List report. As you look at the report, you'll see the avail code flag settings for each avail you have in your system. This will allow you to see which avails you need to go in and edit and change the flag settings on. Understanding log event setup for inventory reports. Once you have the flags set up, you'll need to make sure that you have your dayparts set up as events for your log. So you can go back to Logs and Log Events. Make sure you have selected the correct statement group. Notice that I have my daypart set up at the very top of my screen. When I created them, I named them with an asterisk first. That puts it at the top of the list. Then I used F for FM, and 1 for the first daypart that I want to appear in my reports. Remember that these appear alphabetically, and so if you had afternoon drive rather than PM drive, that would appear first right before AM drive. When setting up your dayparts, you'll give them their name, the event length, which is the length of the daypart. It is a standard event. You do not wish to print them on the work logs or the program logs, but orders may target this event. So when you're putting in an order that targets morning drive only, you can target AM drive for the event. The source code will be none, and I've created an FCC type code named daypart that all of my dayparts are a member of. Once you've created it, save, and I've created AM drive, midday, afternoon drive, evening drive, and overnights on my FM, and I've also created the same ones on my other station WB. We'll go ahead and say OK to those. Editing log templates for use with inventory reports. And now we'll go to Logs, Log Maintenance, and open up a template. You'll notice the template on my log is weekday with net spots. I know this by the icon, so I'm going to double click it to open it up. And the first thing I need to do is make sure that my avail sets are set up correctly. When I look at an avail set, let's look at the one at 10 after midnight, and double click it to open it up. You'll see that my commercial time limit is 2 minutes and my audio time limit is 2 minutes. That's because all of the avails in this avail set are general avails. They are regular spots. So this one is okay. When you have an avail set that is just general avails or regular spots, the commercial time and the audio time should match. However, if we come down later in the morning, let's go to a new sponsor break at 6:07, you'll notice that there is no commercial time, but my audio time is 30 seconds. That's because a regular spot cannot fall into this avail automatically. I don't want it included in my commercial time inventory, so the avail does not add to commercial time, and I don't include commercial time in the break that this is in because it is the only avail in the break. Let's look at a break now that includes something other than just generals in it. This break has generals and a promo. When I double click this, you'll see that my commercial time limit is 2 minutes. So I have 2 minutes of spots, but my audio time limit is 2.5 minutes. So my break is really 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes of it are general commercials, and 30 seconds of it is a promo. So when you add the 2 minutes of commercials and the 30 seconds of promo, you will get an audio time length of 2.5. The same holds true for my network sponsor. It's a 2.5 minute commercial time limit with a 3-minute audio limit. The break itself is 3 minutes long, but only 2.5 minutes of commercials can be placed into it, with the other 30 seconds being used by network spots. After you've checked your avail sets, make sure that you have your day part events on the log. I'm going to do an Alt-G and type in 00 and go to the beginning of the day. Here is my first day part. You'll notice it's *F5 overnights. This is the last day part I want shown on my reports, is my overnights, but it is indeed here. If you did not have your events on the log, you would need to switch your log item type to log event, click on the day part, and then add it at the time you needed to place it. So here is my overnight, my AM drive, morning drive, however you prefer to refer to it. And as you scroll, you can see that I have my midday, afternoon drive, and evening drive. Once you've made the changes, go ahead and save, and then close. Now that you've changed your templates, you'll need to drop the templates onto the calendar. You would do a drop many and make sure that you have the correct station. Select the template that you want to drop. Select the start date. Remember, when you're doing this, make sure that you do not have the start date as an official log. How to check that? Look in the column for last official. Your end date will be the end date shown here on last online, and then drop to the day of the week. You want to select the days of the week that you wish this template placed on. Then go ahead and click drop. It's going to replace the templates that are on those log days, so it's going to need to reschedule the spots. Are you sure you wish to continue? Yes. Once it is done dropping the logs, close the screen. Automatic and manual log availabilities calculations. Close log maintenance and go to Setup and Edit Stations. We're going to click on the station we've been working with, and there are 2 places we'll need to go while we're in this screen. We'll need to go to Station Parameter Setup and Station Avail Settings. Let's go to Station Parameter Setup. Inside the Station Parameter Setup, you'll need to check your spot priority preemptible threshold. You'll need to make sure what the priority is for your preemptible spots. In this station, spots that have a priority of 100 or below are considered to be preemptible for reporting purposes. Clicking on Station Avail Settings, this is where you tell the system how often to auto-calculate your log avails. I'm having it recalculate every 12 hours. I could change that to every 4 hours if I were a high volume station. And I want to recalculate 6 weeks from the last accepted log. So if my last accepted log was April 30th, it will calculate 6 weeks out from that date. You'll notice here that there is a station day part setup. This station day part setup is not for inventory reports. It's for sales reporting only. Go ahead and click OK. And let's check System Monitor to see where we are on our log scheduling. We still have quite a way to go. Let's wait for these to complete. Once all of your logs have finished rescheduling, it's important to go back to Logs and go to Log Availabilities. This is so that you can get an up-to-the-minute report based on the templates you just dropped. We're going to go ahead and do just an Avail Actuals only. You could choose to do Avail Projections only or both. Select your station from the drop-down and you'll notice the actual data range here is 5/1 to 10/27, which were the dates that were online, and your projected dates would be 10/28/2011 to 7/28/2012. I only need Avail Actuals only for 5/1/2011 and we'll let it go to 10/27/11. Click Execute. It sends the recalculation message to the system processor, so we're going to close this, go to System Monitor once again, and check the progress of our log availabilities. You don't want to run the report until these have finished calculating. Now that it's done recalculating, let's go ahead and run our inventory reports. Inventory reports. Launch Report Center, and then click Inventory. This is where all of our inventory reports reside. The first report that we want to run is going to be availabilities by week log event. Remember that by clicking on the report name, you'll get the information about the report in the box below. It does warn you that this report is only as accurate as the last recalculate data process. If you aren't sure the last time the data was recalculated, you can always go into VT System Monitor, System Processor, uncheck Hide Completed Messages, and you would see the last time the avails were run by scrolling to the bottom of the screen. And the first thing we'd like to do here is set the date range that you want to run the report for. I'm going to go ahead and start it on 5/2, and let's go ahead and end this on 6/26. Notice that my start date is a Monday and my end date is a Sunday. When I go to my filtering, I want to filter by station. You only want to run one station at a time. I made my condition equal TRN1 FM and I added it. Now I'll go to my log event. I'm also going to filter on my log events. I'm going to switch the condition from equals to a range, and because this is the FM, I'm selecting my FM daypart events, and then I will add those as well. Under options, do you need this to be time-based or unit-based? The report shows both time and units, but the percentages are based on whatever selection you choose here. You may need to speak to your sales management team to determine best how to run the report. Include orphaned avails or exclude them. I'm including my orphaned avails. Orphaned avails are those that do not have a place to go on the log. They might be targeted to an event that isn't on that day's log, or they might be targeted to an event that doesn't have an avail set in it. Or they could be targeted to an event or a time that has avail sets, but the avail code that's on the order is not on the log. Orphans can also be targeted to a time range that doesn't have any avail sets in it. We'll go ahead and preview the report, and I'm going to zoom in on the report so it's easier to see the numbers. What we are looking at in Morning Drive on the 2nd of May 2011 is that we have allowed 27 minutes in this day part. Those 27 minutes are made up of 54 units. 22 minutes of time has already been scheduled on the log. The spots are on the log, and those 22 minutes are made up of 42 avails, with 81% being scheduled. So that means we have 5 minutes available. 22 from 27 equals 5, with 12 units. 42 from 54 is 12, and 19% left to sell. If I had any bumped time and units, these would be subtracted from the available time to come up with a subtotal. On this particular day, I don't have any bumped time. But let's look at Wednesday, where we started out with the same 27 minutes and 54 units. We scheduled 26.5 minutes with 51 units, making us 98% sold. So I had available 30 seconds, 3 units, 2% left to sell. However, in my bump list, I have one spot that's targeting towards that event. So I would subtract that bumped time from my available time to come up with my subtotal. My subtotal is now 0. I still have 2 units remaining, but my time is sold, so I have 0% left to sell. Now the preemptible comes into play. Preemptible spots, remember, are those spots in my database that have a priority of 100 or below. So I have 2 minutes worth of spots, 4 units in this day part that are considered to be preemptible. So I add the preemptible time back to my subtotal to come up with a total of 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes available with 6 units, 7% remaining left to sell. Now this report is showing you currently how they are scheduled onto the log. That doesn't mean all the spots that are in AM Drive are scheduled towards AM Drive. Maybe they're a 6A to 7P or a 6A to midnight. If you need an accurate report of what spots are scheduled into that day part, that are targeted to that day part, run the report again, but this time add another filter to it. Add spot priority. You want it to be greater than or equal to, and in my case, my day parted spots are at priority 200. So anything 200 or above should be in that day part. Go ahead and preview it again. Go ahead and zoom in on it one more time. This is a different looking report by the numbers now. You will see that on Monday we have 8.5 minutes left. On that Wednesday, where we had 30 seconds left after taking away our scheduled, notice that now we have 3 minutes left. The other 2.5 minutes were not day part specific spots, or they weren't agency buys or minute specific spots. So they can be placed in other day parts if necessary. When you get short on time available, this is one way to look at it and see what you can move possibly. As you scroll down the page, notice that you have midday, afternoon, evening, and then you can go to the next page where we would have overnights, and then any orphaned avails if I had orphaned avails. If you have orphaned avails, you need to look at your logs to see which items are the orphans. They will be in your bump list. If they are targeted to an event that is not on that day, you might need to change their schedule. If they're targeted to an avail code that is not on the log, you need to change their avail code. Notice that AM Drive begins again. This is a new week, and it begins again. So you will go through this week by week, giving you all of your day parts by the week. We can run this by log event week. Let's go ahead and change our dates, add our filters. Make sure our options are correct, and then preview. Zooming in once again, when you look at this report now, you will see the day part listed first and then each individual week. Now these are the detailed reports. You can also get this report in a summarized version. So if we go to availability summary by log event week, we can compare it to the report we just ran. So we'll change this from 5/2 to 6/26. You'll notice my filters are correct here. My options, I'm still doing it time-based. I want to include my bump spots. By that, it's going to subtract the time in the units of the bumped spots from the time available. You also need at this point to decide whether you want to include or exclude preemptible spots. Remember, those preemptible spots are the spots that you can move out of that day part if necessary. I've chosen to exclude my preemptible spots. In other words, I'm not going to add that time back to my available time so that I can potentially prevent an oversold situation. Go ahead and preview. As we look at the report, zooming in once again, notice now that we have the day part and then the weeks, but it's a summary line. This is saying 5 minutes left, 30 seconds left, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. These are the summary lines. They would actually match. If we compare the two reports, the week of 5/2, the 5 minutes 12 units, 19% that is shown on the summary report is equal to the subtotal on the detailed report. Typically, I would run this summary report until I got to a situation such as Friday, the week of 5/30, and then I would run it detailed, or the week of 5/23 where you're oversold in a day part. If I'm showing negative numbers, then I would run the report detailed, and I would also, when I ran it detailed, I would make it priority of day parted spots and above only. Give that to sales management and they can determine whether or not they need to stop selling in that day part. Now, the reports we've run so far have been for commercial units only. What if you need to know what time you have available for sponsorships? Availabilities by avail code. When we run this report, remember that it's only as accurate as the last avail calculation, and it's going to display units and percentages available to sell by log event for each avail code. So let's go to our filters, and let's say we need to know for the month of May what we have available to sell for a news sponsorship. My news sponsorships are only available in 3 day parts: morning drive, midday, and afternoons, and I want it for this station. On your options tab, you want to include your bumped, you want to include your preemptibles, and you want the spots to include to be non-commercial, and then preview. Zooming in once again, you'll notice that while I may not know exactly how many spots I had to begin with, I see that I have 4 available on Monday 5/2. On Tuesday I have 6 with 100%, so I know that I have 6 available slots in morning drive. I have 2 available in midday, and I would also have 6 in afternoon drive. Remember, these units and percentages are based on what is left to sell. In this session, we discussed how to set up our log avails for use with inventory reports, how to set up our day parts as log events for inventory reports, how to edit our templates for use in inventory reports, including commercial and audio links in the avail sets, and placing day parts on the log. We showed you how to automatically and manually calculate log availabilities. And then our inventory reports, how to choose the options for week, log event detail, log event week detail, log event week summary, and sponsorship reporting. From all of us at Marketron, thank you for viewing.